Hello, you're watching AnewZ Morning from Baku. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov, and let's see the headlines. Azerbaijan marks a national day of mourning over the tragic crash of the Embraer 190 passenger aircraft. U.S. President Joe Biden asks the Defense Department to continue its surge of weapons deliveries to Ukraine after condemning Russia's Christmas Day attack. Relatives of hostages held by Hamas held a silent sit-in protest in Tel Aviv, calling on Israel to reach a deal for their loved ones to be released. The tragic crash of Azerbaijan Airlines Embraer 190 near Aktau, Kazakhstan on December 25th has left 38 people dead and 29 survivors clinging to life. As grief grips multiple nations, investigators are racing to uncover the cause of the disaster. Today, Azerbaijan observes a national day of mourning to honor the victims of this heartbreaking tragedy.
Azerbaijan is making a national day of mourning today in remembrance of those who lost their lives in the tragic crash of an Azerbaijan airline Embraer 190 near Aktau, Kazakhstan. The crash, which occurred on December 25th, claimed 38 lives. 29 people survived the accident. According to Kazakhstan's Minister of Transportation, Marat Karabayev, the aircraft was carrying 67 people, including 62 passengers and 5 crew members. Here's a breakdown of the victims' nationalities. Among the 37 Azerbaijani citizens on board, 23 tragically lost their lives. 14 survived. All 3 Kyrgyzstan nationals on board survived. 7 Russian citizens died, while 9 survived. Sadly, all 6 Kazakh citizens on board were killed. Of the 5 crew members, 2 lost their lives. The Embraer 190 was operating a flight from Baku to Grozny when it went down. Investigators are working tirelessly to determine what led to this devastating accident. Authorities have recovered the aircraft's black box, a vital step in uncovering the cause of the accident. Kazakhstan's chief transport prosecutor, Timur Suleymanov, confirmed its discovery during the briefing in Aktau. Azerbaijan Airlines has announced that it will suspend flights on the Baku-Grozny-Baku and Baku-Makashkala-Baku routes until the investigation process is completed.
Azerbaijan Airlines flight crash near Aktau has sparked intense speculation, with media reports hinting a possible missile strike as the cause. As authorities investigate a range of theories, including a bird strike and a potential air defense missile hit, have emerged surrounding the deadly incident.
The crash of an Azerbaijan Airlines flight near Aktau, Kazakhstan, on Wednesday has sparked intense media coverage and speculation about the cause of the disaster. Deutsche Welle reported that Kazakh officials confirmed that 38 people died in the crash and 29 survivors were hospitalized. The flight, an Embraer 190, had been en route from Baku to Grozny, but was forced to divert to Aktau due to poor weather in Grozny. While initial reports from the airline suggested a bird strike caused the emergency landing, other sources investigated other hypotheses. Euronews referred to information from AnewZ international news channel based in Azerbaijan, which quoted a Russian military blogger suggesting that the plane might have been struck by a surface-to-air missile, based on the damage to the fuselage. It also cited reports of explosion-like sounds heard by passengers before the crash. The Guardian also picked up on the possibility of missile involvement. The Guardian noted that the Chechen capital Grozny, where the plane was originally headed, has been a focal point for military drone activity. BBC also pointed out discrepancies in flight tracking data showing that the plane deviated significantly from its course, eventually circling over the Caspian Sea before descending near Aktau. Flight Radar 24 data, reported by Euronews, indicated that the aircraft experienced strong GPS jamming, which could have complicated efforts to land. Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya both reported the theory that the crash was caused by a bird strike, leading to engine failure, which forced the pilots to seek an emergency landing. In contrast, CNN and ABC News took a different approach, reporting that while the possibility of a bird strike was still being considered, experts were not ruling out other factors. CNN also mentioned that 29 survivors were pulled from the wreckage, including many in critical condition. It reported that while the cause of the plane's detour across the Caspian Sea remains unclear, the crash followed drone strikes in southern Russia, which had led to airport closures, including the nearest Russian airport. ABC News detailed how extensive rescue operations were underway, with Kazakhstan sending medical teams to assist the injured. Azerbaijan Airlines, along with authorities in Kazakhstan, Russia, and Azerbaijan, is working to determine the exact cause of the crash.
Leaders from around the world have expressed their condolences following the tragic crash of an Azerbaijani passenger plane in Aktau. Among them, officials from Turkey, Russia, Kyrgyzstan, and many others. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif conveyed their condolences and sympathies to the victims of the crash and their families. Russian President Vladimir Putin also expressed his condolences and spoke on the phone with President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev. President of Kyrgyzstan Sadir Japarov shared his sorrow and wished a speedy recovery to all those affected by the tragedy. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan was also among the leaders who expressed their condolences. Romania's and Georgia's foreign ministers have also sent condolences. Azerbaijani officials visited and examined the crash site with their Kazakh colleagues. During the inspection of the wreckage, the marks and the holes on the side of the plane were visible and noted by the gathered. The Azerbaijani Emergency Situations Minister was informed on this.
Onun belə götürəndə Kamal deməli, bunun üstü belə olmalıydı. Orada necədir, burada deyil olmalıydı.
Niyə bu belə olur?
Bu niyə belə bu qədər qırma deşiklər var?
Commenting on the video showing the holes, a Russian blogger, Yuri Podolyaka, in his Telegram channel said these marks could prove to be a result of an accidental strike by an air defense missile system. Asked about the holes, the head of the commission investigating the accident, Deputy Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, Kanat Bozumbayev, said that a special investigation team has examined the scene and that the final results will be announced after all evidence is collected. Another video surfaced from inside the cabin of the airline showing damage to the wing of the airplane before it crashed. The officials also visited those who were injured as a result of the plane crash and are getting treatment. Meanwhile, sometime earlier, relatives of the passengers on board the Azal flight spoke to the press at the Grozny airport.
My nephew was on the plane. It was his first time flying to visit his uncle, and then this happened.
And how did you find out about the crash?
I came to meet him and found out everything here.
When did you learn that he was alive?
About 2 to 3 hours ago.
What is his condition now?
He's alive, healthy, in excellent condition.
And your feelings about this?
It's indescribable. At first it was overwhelming, and then upon learning he was alive, it was impossible to put into words. My friends were on the plane.
Where were they flying to?
They were flying here to Grozny.
Is it still unknown if they're alive?
It's unclear. Nothing definite has been reported yet. We know the crash happened on this flight, but there's no information about whether they're in hospital or not.
How long have you been waiting?
Since the morning. I came to meet them. When I arrived, they said the flight was redirected to Makhachkala, then back here. Then I saw the news online about the crash, and panic set in. There's still no news about each person. My daughter-in-law, my son's wife, and 2 of my sisters. My sisters and my daughter-in-law.
Where were they flying to?
From Baku to Grozny. The daughter-in-law was with her husband. My son lives here. My sisters were coming. One's daughter lives here, and the other's son.
And how did you learn about the crash?
When we arrived here, they told us at first they'd be sent to Vladikavkaz, then Makhachkala, and later Kazakhstan, Aktau.
And do you know yet if they are alive?
Nothing yet. They're neither among the dead nor the survivors. We've been told there are 27 survivors, but our relatives are not among them. We're still waiting.
We, psychologists from the Ministry of Health of the Chechen Republic, have arrived to provide psychological support to the relatives of the victims. Our colleagues are also working on the hotline, as many relatives are in a state of stress. Our task is to help them cope with their acute stress reactions.
By the order of Ramzan Akhmatovich Kadyrov, head of the Chechen Republic, a headquarters has been established. Specialists from the Ministry of Emergency Situations and other departments are working together in coordination with the working group in Aktau. We have contacted the Ombudsman of Kazakhstan. There is full communication between us, and human rights defenders on the ground are gathering precise information. We're determining how many are in hospital and how many are still at the crash site. We are also interacting with the relatives here. I hope we will have clear information soon. At this point, it's too early to draw conclusions. A large number of blood donors have come forward. We haven't counted everyone who arrived, but so far 109 people have donated blood. The issue is that these events happened closer to midday, and many donors came after eating a meal. Naturally, eating before donating blood is contraindicated, so donors should ideally arrive on an empty stomach or after a light breakfast. As a result, not all, but many of them had to leave. Approximately half of those who came forward, which is around 200 to 250 people, expressed their willingness to donate. Our main reserves have already been sent out. As soon as we heard about the incident, we immediately supplied the regional hospital with additional reserves. Although the regional hospital and the regional children's hospital have a 2-day supply of blood and blood substitutes, we provided extra to avoid a situation where further deliveries would be required. This morning's donations are now being processed. We will be working almost through the night to replenish our stocks. At the moment, there is no shortage of blood.
And now our Kazakhstan correspondent, Fariza Kalimurzina, brings us the latest update from the Aktau.
We are currently near the location of the accident. It's about 25 kilometers from the Aktau city. Now employees of the Ministry of Emergency Situations of the 3 countries are working here. Security has been organized. The media aren't allowed to the scene of the incident as investigative actions are underway. According to the Deputy Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, in accordance with the algorithm, the wreckage of the aircraft will be collected and then placed in a closed hangar. Then they will be examined by experts, including international experts, to establish chronology and causes of the incident. Meanwhile, in Aktau, the government commission held a meeting of the headquarters established in connection with the plane crash. It's reported that financial assistance will be provided to the families of Kazakh citizens who died in the plane crash. Relatives of deceased foreign citizens coming to Mangostau region will also be helped with everything they need. The Kazakh Ministry of Emergency Affairs reported that the operational and emergency services worked according to the algorithms. After receiving information about the incident, the staff arrived at the scene within 8 minutes. The minister also noted that the civilians who were the first to arrive at the crashed plane and tried to help the victims will be presented with awards. This is all news from this hour from here, Aktau. Fariza Kalimurzina, AnewZ.
Japan Airlines said on Thursday that its system network is under a cyber attack, with at least 9 domestic and some international flights delayed. Japan Airlines said system problems occurred at 7:24 a.m. local time, and it will halt sales of tickets for domestic and international flights for the rest of the day. Japan Airlines, the country's second biggest airline after All Nippon Airways, is just the latest Japanese company to be hit by a cyber attack. In 2022, the government said a cyber attack was behind disruption at a Toyota supplier that forced the top-selling car maker to hold operations at domestic plants for a day. More recently, the popular Japanese video-sharing website Nico Nico suspended its services in June because it was under a large-scale cyber attack, its operator said. The Southern Air Command of Ukraine reported on December 25th that air defense forces in the Kherson region destroyed 11 enemy targets, including a Russian cruise missile.
Tensions between Russia and Ukraine persist. In southwestern Ukraine, the volunteer organization Black Tulips conducted search operations in a forest near Dolina to locate the remains of missing soldiers. Explosive devices were also discovered during the searches. In the city of Kryvyi Rih, a ballistic missile strike killed one person and injured 15 others. Rescuers continue their efforts to find survivors among the rubble. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Moscow carried out large-scale attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, launching 70 missiles and more than 100 drones. Earlier, Ukrainian drones targeted the Urus-Martan, Shalinsky, and Staropromyslovsky districts of Grozny city. These districts are located just 5 to 10 kilometers away from Grozny airport. Additionally, Ukraine's Southern Air Command reported that air defense forces in the Kherson region successfully destroyed 11 enemy targets, including a Russian cruise missile. U.S. President Joe Biden condemned the Christmas Day attacks by Russia and requested the Department of Defense to continue increasing the supply of weapons to Ukraine. According to Biden, these attacks are aimed at depriving the Ukrainian people of heating and electricity. Since the beginning of the war, Washington has allocated $175 billion in aid to Ukraine. However, it remains uncertain whether this level of support will continue under the new president-elect, Donald Trump, who will replace Biden. Trump has expressed his intention to end the war quickly.
Dressed in white, mothers and daughters of hostages held by Hamas held a silent sit-in protest in Tel Aviv on Wednesday, the first night of Hanukkah. They are calling on Israel to reach a deal for their loved ones to be released. The protest in Tel Aviv, cut short due to a security alert, comes as Hamas and Israel trade blame over their failure to conclude a ceasefire agreement. In recent days, both sides have reported progress. Hamas said that Israel had laid down further conditions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused the Palestinian militant group of going back on understandings already reached. Israeli negotiators returned to Israel from Qatar on Tuesday evening for consultations about the hostage deal after a significant week of talks, Netanyahu's office said. The U.S., Qatar and Egypt have stepped up efforts to conclude a phased deal in the past 2 weeks. The war was triggered by Hamas' October 7, 2023 attack on southern Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed and 251 taken hostage to Gaza, according to Israeli tallies. Israel's campaign against Hamas in Gaza has since killed more than 45,300 Palestinians, according to health officials in the Hamas-run enclave. Pakistani airstrikes in Afghanistan claimed 46 lives, according to a spokesperson for the Afghan Taliban. Bombardment happened in eastern Afghanistan's Paktika province. Strikes reportedly targeted a camp of the Pakistani Taliban, a militant group allied with but separate from the Afghan Taliban. Pakistani government and military officials did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The Pakistani Taliban, which seeks to impose Islamic law in Pakistan, had recently killed 16 Pakistani security personnel in an attack in Taus Waziristan. The world's largest photovoltaic power station, perched on the Yalong River in Sichuan province, China, is revolutionizing energy generation by combining water and sunlight at altitudes of up to 4,600 meters.
In southwest China's Sichuan province, a landmark in renewable energy takes shape. The Caleb photovoltaic power station, located on the Yalong River in the Gaozizang Autonomous Prefecture, is the world's largest and highest altitude hydrophotovoltaic facility. Covering 16 square kilometers, 80 times the size of China's national stadium, the station integrates over 2 million photovoltaic modules, 5,000 inverters, and 300 transformers to generate power from water and sunlight. This innovative project, part of the Lianghiko hydropower station's first phase, operates at altitudes between 4,000 and 4,600 meters. With a total investment of $726 million USD, it generates 2 billion kilowatt hours of electricity annually, saving over 600,000 tons of coal and reducing carbon emissions by 1.6 million tons each year.
That's all we have for this hour. You can also get latest news and headlines around the clock on our website, that is AnewZ.tv. Thank you for watching.